Trying to get this thing working. Hey, everybody. Hopefully, the chat will stay up so I can see. I don't have to touch it every couple seconds. Hey, DJ, you really like the topic. Well, hopefully, I'll add a lot to the discussion and it'll be really helpful. Um, I have touched on this topic in the past, I have talked about it quite a bit, and I've kind of made my voice kind of clear here and there when I've talked about clones in the past. Of course, y'all know that sometimes I deal with them. But Georgia Gent is the one that kind of got this tag going. So if you haven't, saw Georgia Gent and his content, he's a real honest, down to earth kind of guy. And check him out. He started this topic. He wanted to get everybody in the fragrance community talking about it. So today we're going to be talking about clones. We're going to be talking about are they good? Maybe morally, do they really save you any money? And maybe what are some of the options out there? So I know some of y'all might not like this topic. Some of y'all don't find clones entertaining at all. For some of y'all, money is not an object, saving the money. But for some people, this is a big topic. This is important because sometimes people really are going after performance. Sometimes clones can, copy discontinued fragrances and really bring back a fragrance. And clones can do a number of other things. So let me know, DJ, and everybody who's here in the house. Let me know what's your scent of the day. What are you wearing? How are you doing today on this Sunday? Thank you so much for joining me today. Could you rotate the camera to landscape mode, please? I'll try for you real quick. Every time I do this on my live, this my screen goes gray, and YouTube says that it wants me to do it this way. But let me see what I can do for you. Let me see if it'll work. It tells me to rotate device, and it's locked. Can you see me? I cannot see the chat when I have it sideways like that. When I have it that way, I'm not able to see. I'm not able to see the chat, and my screen goes gray. I don't know why YouTube does it this way. And I have to touch the screen every couple seconds to see the chat. So this is the way YouTube has it, and I can't do much about it. I'm sorry, guys. Solano's in the house. Did you change your name? Or is that a new profile? Is that you, Solano? Hey, how you doing? DJ says I think clones are great, especially in paying $300 or more for a fragrance that lasts 30 minutes, doesn't project, isn't blended as well. Sometimes the clone outperforms and improves the original. I certainly agree. We'll get into that in a second. I do think that that is the case sometimes. Sometimes these brands kind of play with the DNA and they try to mix the DNA, and sometimes they improve it for a much cheaper price. Of course, they're not using the exact same quality ingredients. Often they're using the cheaper ingredients, but what you get to your nose is just about the same smell, unless it's a super high end niche fragrance, with naturals. Most of the time, you can't smell too much of a difference. Centurion says, "Hi, my friend. Yes, Centurion's a really nice guy. I want to learn more British lingo. You got to teach me. I want to call you a good bloke, but I don't even know if bloke is a compliment. I don't know if that's an insult. You're a good guy. Huh? I like your phrases and your lingo over there. I think you're not British. I think you're UK. I'm sorry, but C Mac says Burberry Touch a clone house. It's fine. You can't copyright a scent. Yeah, that's a whole other topic. I definitely agree with that. With anything in life, unless I mean, it's a really big topic because most things that are copyrighted, it's a brand. There's a brand like a name like Nike or McDonald's, but most brands or most things aren't copyrighted unless they're really technical in their formulation. Now, that's one reason a clone house can get around it because they can reformed the fragrance, and they're not claiming to, be the exact same thing. A clone house isn't claiming that they are Roja or that they're selling, whatever fragrance it is the fragrance. They're saying this is our interpretation of it, and then they play around with the notes. So even if they did copyright a formula, they're not exactly copying that formula exactly. So they wouldn't really be in any lawsuit danger unless they got too close to the original formula. But the thing is, again, they're playing around with notes, they're playing around with cheaper ingredients to make accords and smells that are very similar, but they're not the same. So they can work around those things. I know this is a whole ethical kind of there's an aspect of that to this discussion, and some people think that it's kind. I do agree that creativity is important, and we need more creativity in the fragrance game, just in general. But again, people do like mass appealing fragrances, and people do like saving money. I think that that's an important topic, saving money, and I think a lot of people care about that, and that's why the clones have really started to peep up. And really, it's competition. People who've really wanted to stifle or stop the clones, I don't think they're really seeing things in the perspective of the customer, the everyday person. There's a lot of people, and they want some to smell really nice. They want to smell maybe a certain way. Maybe Alexandria fragrances with dark. I think it's was it Dark Knight? Yeah, I think it's a copy of Black Phantom by Killian. Maybe somebody really wants to smell like Killian's Black Phantom, but that's a $300+ fragrance. Maybe if you find it a really good price, you'll get like 250, 270, something like that. And you know, and it also exposes, I guess you could say, fat in companies. That's another big discussion. You know, what's the real value? What are the real cost of these fragrances? I can't say that I know the details of these brands. I can't say that I know the cost that goes into every fragrance. But from what I've heard from people who are inside the industry, they say that there's a huge markup and a huge profit margin. So when a clone house comes forward, they certainly can, maybe be willing to make a little bit less money and sell a similar product and, of course, get your business. But they're not making as much money overall. So that's a whole nother part of the discussion. Are these companies really giving us a fair value for what we're getting? We do know some ingredients are extremely expensive, like naturals, but even really high end fragrances only use a very small amount of those naturals, and they make an accord that uses those naturals because some of them, like rose, I forget, there's some of them out there, I think like orris, tuberose, some of them are extremely expensive. They're worth like $1,000, like oud, of course, real oud oil like the absolute, it can be worth $1,000 a gram. So that stuff's worth more than gold per weight. So I can't make an accusation, or I can't make a claim that a certain brand is giving us a good value or not. I don't have that insider knowledge, and if anybody here does, please give us some insight. Please let us know what cost to really go into some of these fragrances. Some brands, I guess I'm going to put them on blast, but like Eccentric Molecules, y'all know that the cost per fragrance going into something like Eccentric Molecules is very low. They're making amazing margins. They're probably making, uh, 10 times what the cost of their fragrances or whatever. So imagine making 1,000% profit on what your personal cost is for a product. Somebody can come out and make something. Recently I think it was called Boardroom from Alexandra, and they made a copy really quick of Jeremy Fragrance's Office for Men, and it sold out fast. And a lot of people say, they get similar performance and smell. Okay, let me get to the comments real quick. Let me catch up a little bit, and maybe we can jump into some other topics. And I do have a number of clone brands I'd just like to overview for y'all. Some of the ones that I've worked with, and we can talk about some of those fragrances. Um, Let me see here. Centurion again's in the house. 504 Man Fragrance says, "Hey Ben, he's a new reviewer too. Check out 504 Fragrance if you want another pretty cool, honest guy." And Solano, of course. I don't know. Okay, that is you, Solano. You changed your name because not a lot of people couldn't find me, and not. It's not a new profile. It's the same. Okay, so SD AO is Solano. He's a fragrance reviewer too. Check him out. He's a cool guy. He knows Initio and Juicebox and a bunch of other great brands. Surgis by Estiara. Carlos says, "Oh, that sounds nice. I haven't tried that one." Centurion says, "Bloke is fine." Okay, I'm never sure. I'm like, is bloke better? Is chum a better? I think chum is that friend. I'm not sure. I'm trying to I'm trying to learn your lingo. I need to, become better friends with Fragrance Apprentice over there. DJ says clones are great to fill in the originals too. I bought both Leighton and Royal Equestrian to fill in the gaps. Yeah, and sometimes you can layer them. And sometimes you want to go and wear an everyday fragrance. Sometimes you want to just have an option where you can just wear a fragrance casually, but you really like that smell. you know, if your pocketbook isn't really deep, you might not feel comfortable wearing your Creed, your $300 fragrance just casually out to the mall. And maybe you just want something that's more affordable but has great performance so people can smell you. That's another reason why clones are so great. Maybe you want to save your uber fancy fragrance, your fragrance that really has that special sparkle, for those certain occasions where, everything, all the details really matter. The family reunions, those fancy occasions where you're at a dinner party or a cocktail party, or you're going to meet up with somebody special. Wink, wink. Um, those are the kinds of times where I think the real thing is maybe the better option. But again, when you're just going out and about, you know, I can definitely see that. You make a great point there, my friend DJ. Eugene Baptiste says, I have no issues with clone houses. Yeah, I don't know if I know that you don't, but there are some really vocal people, and they'll go after people's character. Again, I mentioned it in a video recently, a couple videos back on Redolescence. He introduced a new clone house. I don't know the details of the clone house. I don't know if they're good value for money. I haven't smelled them, and I haven't tried them. But that's not really the issue. They were kind of going and attacking Redolescence's character for even sharing a clone brand. And it's one thing to discuss the issue, but to personally go after a reviewer personally, I mean, I don't think that's acceptable. I don't, there's these vocal people that really will antagonize people, and they're really heavily opinionated, and they seem to want to really, put down on anybody who talks about clones. And the thing is, with the industry, these people who hate clones, why don't you go after designer fragrances? Why don't you go after even some of the popular niche? Parfums de Marly has some great fragrances, but like Godolphin. Godolphin is clearly inspired by Tuscan leather, and there's a number of other brands, and even some of the popular niche follow the trends, like the Baccarat Rouge 540. Before that, it was Aventus. And with designer fragrances, they're copying each other all the time. How many designer fragrances do we know that are inspired by Sauvage? I mean, are you going to blast all these designer brands and say that they don't serve a purpose, or that they're not any good? And maybe even the people who hate the clones are saying that the consumer is wrong. I'm not really sure exactly what the argument is besides being artistic. And I understand. I think that there needs to be more artistic fragrances and more artistic vision, but also you have to see what people want. What the supply and the demand. What are people wanting? What are people buying? If another brand, let's say Chanel, like when Bleu de Chanel came out, or even Dior Sauvage, they knew that they were making a very popular fragrance that people wanted and that people were going to buy. Now, the people who like the more artistic, really complex fragrances of the past were very unhappy with that decision. They wanted things like Anateus and Eau Sauvage and other really inspired fragrances of the past that really were more artistic. But they saw that there was a demand in the market, and a lot of people like the Fragrantica crowd and those kinds really started to blast these brands, and I don't see it. I see one side. I see the argument. I like artistic fragrances. I like complex fragrances. I paid a lot of money for some niche. These niche fragrances behind me are not cheap. About you see half of the side. There's a little bit more on the regular fragrances, the designers, and the indie over here. But I have about half of my fragrance collection is about niche. So I like that stuff. But again, I guess it boils down to respect in my head, to my the way I'm seeing things. I guess respect other fragrance lovers. Not everybody is going to want what you want, and you got to be objective. You got to see have more of a perspective. I guess that's what I'm saying, and there I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just saying some of these people who really dislike clones, and I respect you if you don't like clones. You don't have to like clones. I'm not saying that you should like clones or that you need to. I'm just saying that there's an argument for them. There's a reason why they're around. Okay, let's get to some more of the chat. I'm sorry if I was a little bit too ranty there. And of course, please give me a like. I think that lets YouTube know that you like this content if you want to help me out. Let's see here. Centurion says clones are great for fragrances that have been discontinued or reformulated to the point that they don't smell like the original. I agree. That's another great point. There's some fragrances that have really been kind of weakened over time, and I would love to see a clone brand actually come out with a new spin on L'Enduit de l'Homme with a lot better performance. If they came out with L'Enduit de l'Homme and threw something interesting in the mix, let's say they added a little bit of cognac, or maybe they added a different spice to it, or maybe they even decided to make it a little bit more gourmandish and put a little spin, a little spark of chocolate in it, and made it a lot stronger of a fragrance. I think that people would go gaga for a L'Enduit de l'Homme that had crazy performance, like really strong performance, and maybe had something a little bit interesting to it, like a dry cocoa, or maybe they put in a little bit of extra leather, like hit a little bit of leather in there, something interesting like that. Maybe they decide to make it smoky. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with these DNAs and make very interesting fragrances, and they could do a lot for the performance of these fragrances. Again, I just know L'Enduit de l'Homme is really popular. And as far as bringing back fragrances from the past, let me see, I have it here. I was very happy that Be Layered, this is one of the new clone houses that not too many people know about, have heard about yet. Be Layered has Paris Nights, and this is clearly a bringing it back from the dead kind of fragrance of Midnight in Paris by Van Cleef and Arpels. One of the fragrances a lot of us were really sad to see go. This one is more sweet. It doesn't have as much sandalwood. I think that the original was kind of unisex, but this one is definitely unisex. A lady definitely can pull this off. But this is a very charming fragrance. It's very wearable, and I really do like it. So if you've been missing Midnight in Paris, if you don't want to pay the 150, $200 for a full 3.3 or 3.4, whatever they were, ounce of Midnight in Paris, check out Paris Nights by Be Layered. Again, that's what we're talking. That's why we're talking about clones, because of things like that. And again, they sent this to me. I talked with them, and they were very generous. So full transparency, but I think that this is a good fragrance, and I'm always honest with y'all, and I'm very happy that they actually did that. Very happy about that. Okay, let's see here. DJ says the Centurion, yeah, like Escada Magnetism. I've heard that's a really good one. Was 35, but you can't get it anymore under 150. but Alexandria made one. I'll have to check that one out. Let me know, what does it smell like to you, the original or maybe the Alexandria? Should I check that one out? Carlos Colom says, buy whatever you like. Most that buy clones don't know what the original smells like. They just know the difference. But the original and extra nuances, quality, presentation, status. Exactly. Some of these people just want to smell like they like the inspiration, they like the DNA of the fragrance, but they don't exactly want the nice presentation. They don't want the brand behind it. There's plenty of brands that have been inspired by everything from Nike to New Balance to, I mean, you know how many brands out there that are inspired. Um, I don't know if y'all are into things like knives or cutlery, but that's another area in the world that y'all should see how much copycat stuff goes on. There's 10 copycats, and there's copycats of copycats, and there's copycats of the copycat of the copycat. Um, so there's this like inception going on in some industries, like cutlery. So yeah, these people who are really going ham about clones. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they have deep pockets, and maybe money's not an object, and they just like the original brand, or they like originals. I mean, I would, if anybody really dislike clones, I would like to know more about your opinion. I know that you really did. Some think it's thievery, some think it's theft of an idea, but we all work off each other, and sometimes that's a good thing. People bring each other together. People inspire other people and create movements and make change in good, positive ways. Sometimes I don't want to toot my own horn, and I don't want to brag too much. But for me personally, with my own channel, I know that I'm a small channel. I'm still really a small guy, especially in the world of YouTube. In the world of YouTube, I'm still quite a small person. But in the fragrance community, I have, with some of my ideas, a number of them I've inspired and kind of been creative enough and really inspired some topics that are, popular, that other bigger YouTubers, fragrance reviewers are using, and it's kind of a compliment to me as for creativity. I wish some of them would mention me, but of course everybody is free to use each other's ideas, and the same goes for other people. There's like Big Beard Business, like with his weekly fragrance rotation. That's one of the biggest, clearest examples. Y'all seen how many fragrance reviewers kind of copy that concept because it works. People want to see that, and maybe I should do that every Sunday. Maybe I should talk about the fragrance I wore every week, what I thought about the fragrances. When I was walking down the street, somebody said hello, smelled my fragrance, and said something to me. Maybe I should talk about those kinds of things because some ideas just work, and we're all inspired by each other, and we all are benefit from each other, I guess, in a good way. Let me see here. Ray says, I'm a cheap date. I like Armoff the best of clones. Yeah, Armoff has some good stuff. No doubt about it. I really like their niche platinum, and I really did respect their niche oud, but it just didn't work for me. But if you like Rojas Creation E, Enigma, and you don't mind a root beer Play-Doh like note, if that does not bother you, definitely check out Niche Oud by Armoff. It has very strong performance. It does very well. It smells very high quality, but it does have that root beer, and it also has a Play-Doh kind of nuance to the fragrance. With that vanilla and that amber can kind of do that, have that Play-Doh smell, or clay, if you don't know what Play-Doh is. Mr. Cheap says he's showing some love. Hello, my friend. How are you doing today? So happy to see you here in the house. He's a great guy too, a fragrance reviewer, really putting his all, doing his best, doing the grind, just like I'm trying to. This is the first week I have ever done a video every single day of the week, a whole week straight. So This is really kind of a big thing for me. I am trying to grow. I'm trying to see if this helps my channel, what this is going to do for the channel. And Mr. Cheap Sense has been on the grind too. So another good guy. He's down to earth. You can chill with him. He's a genuine guy. So check him out too. Um, let's see here. Melilex says, "What do you think about new batches of Parfum de Marly Layton?" I don't think I've smelled a newer batch. Has maybe you have an idea of, is something changed? Has there been a reformulation? You let me know, because I don't live really close to any big boutiques where they get regular inventory of anything like that. I would be interested to know, is there, if there is anything different. And that's another thing, with some of these brands, they're making huge profit margins, but then sometimes they make a little bit more if they dilute or change the fragrance a little bit, make a smaller bottle. Y'all know that I put Creed on blast, and I know that Creed will probably, I guess some people consider me a big influencer now, because I'm willing to work with brands, and I do have some more stuff in the works. But Creed, I'm always honest. Again, Creed, they've I don't even know how to say it. They've made smaller bottles, so they made their bottles smaller, and a lot of people didn't talk about it or didn't notice. They used to be, I think, 4.2, and now they made them like 3.3s, so they're giving you less fragrance per money. They price gouged the USA. They up their prices, for the USA, for the American North American market, and charge us more money. With Aventus, that's definitely been reformulated over time. They've reduced the ambergris. They've made it more fresh, so they've taken out oak moss, which is a very expensive ingredient. They've reduced it a lot. They've reduced the smoke, which I imagine the smoke in the fragrance isn't very expensive, but my goodness, has that fragrance changed? If you've ever smelled a batch before 2016, or even especially before, really early, like 2014 batches of Aventus. I don't want to get into the batches of Aventus. I don't want to get into that whole discussion, but there is a big difference. Some people say there's no difference. Some people say they're exaggerating. If you smell like a 2014 batch, especially a smoky batch, and compare it to what you're getting on the shelf today, a 2019 A01, whatever they're called, they're very different fragrances. And, and with less, they've just more fruity pineapple, take away the expensive oak moss, take away most of the expensive ambergris, and take away most of really all the smoke. And there you go. And I realized why they did it, because it makes it more mass appealing. It makes the Aventus sell better, but price gouging, smaller bottles, and not they should have lowered the price. Is another thing, is what I'm trying to say. If you're going to make it more accessible and you're trying to sell more, if you because of the ingredients and the smaller bottle size, should have made the fragrance cheaper, but instead, Creed is making buco bucks. They're making crazy money, and nobody really seems to talk about it. Anyways, let me see the chats here. I need to catch up. See here. ScentQuest says, "Good morning, sir. My vote on clones is no, but I'll try them from time to time. Thinking of getting Andy Warhol from Central Obsessions, and I want to get Maple Madness original when I order." Yeah, that's another thing. Again, with the fragrances that have been discontinued and are very expensive, the original Andy Warhol with the real presentation bottle with Andy Warhol's face on it, the purple bottle. I think, so, if you can ever find it, there's a few people, I think, on the internet who charge about $500, $500 for a Bond number 9. That's crazy. They've doubled the price, the original retail price. So, that's a fragrance that a lot of people like, and I don't know why it was discontinued. I don't know the history. I don't know the insides of the company, but Central Obsessions came out with Andy Warhol. They made a fragrance that's very accessible. This is affordable. You can get this fragrance for, $20 or so. And you might think this smells like alcohol if you haven't smelled it yet. You might think it sounds like a rather cheap brand, but this stuff actually smells quality for the money. It's a sweet fragrance, no doubt about it. It has plum. It some people say it has oud. It does have a nice woody nuance, and it does have a rather well blended kind of chocolatiness to the fragrance. So Andy Warhol by Sensual Obsessions. If you haven't tried it yet, and if you want something affordable, accessible, it smells unique, it definitely would work for a date night. It's a sweet fragrance. Sensual Obsessions, Andy Warhol. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. Mr. Cheap Sense talks about it. I talk about it, and a few other guys over there. I think Trey Sense has talked about it quite a bit. You got to check that one out. Let me know what you think about it. Great stuff. Mr. Cheap Sense says great points on why not to go after designer brands, which could typically be called clone houses, also in a sense. Yeah, Mr. Cheap Sense, it's true. A lot of some of these neat designer houses, in a way, kind of have become a clone house in a way. They see somebody who's a big trend center, Dior, Chanel. They see somebody, maybe Paco Rabanne has been a trendsetter sometimes. Sometimes Mugler has been a trendsetter. And once those fragrances start selling like hotcakes, and once, the brands can see that, this is working, they jump on the bandwagon as fast as they can. So honestly, you could call some of these designer brands clone houses if you really wanted to. And I'm not saying that as a negative thing. I'm just saying that if you're going to put, again, with this discussion, if you're going to put somebody on blast like these clone houses, you got to go after a whole lot more people. You got to even start going after a lot of niche. Even Creed, with original Santal and original Vetiver and some of those things, you got to start going after Creed too. So let me know how that goes. Carlos Colum says, I've been overwhelmed by niche a lot of times. I prefer to be surprised by inexpensive unknown houses. I've gotten lots of original scents from smaller designer houses that do something original. That's so true. And thank you for pointing that out, because I am going to work with some more indie brands coming in the future where they don't have the overhead costs that a normal brand does. They don't have the marketing cost. They don't have physical boutique stores. They don't have, fancy packaging. So there's a lot less going into the fragrance, and what you're getting for your money is really the quality of the juice inside. Sometimes their packaging isn't the great, but they're putting a good product forward. So you're getting a really good value for your money. So if you're into indie, if you're into niche-ish fragrances, I have a lot of brands to share with y'all in the future. I'm working with some brands, and I have some things in the works. If you want creative, artistic fragrances, a lot of people see things in niche or designer. I see things in high end, like creative, like high end, like the quality of the fragrance, or kind of low quality. That's what I like to look at. Because if you just look at houses, or if you just look at these companies, and if they make clothes or whatnot, and judge their fragrance, categorize it in that way, then you really don't have a lot of perspective on the brand. Because there's some companies that produce it, would be considered niche because that's the only thing they create, but they could be creating cheaper niche, more affordable niche, or maybe even like low end niche that's really affordable. And there's designer houses that can produce really high end stuff with their exclusive lines, especially. So that's a whole nother big discussion for another day. But yeah, that I just don't like those categories, is what I'm saying. If that makes any sense. Um, Eugene says, I don't see myself shelling out $100 to $300 for a bottle of cologne. To those who do that, that's good for you to have extra cash around, but I have more important things money can go. That's another great point and another argument for clones. Um, Nothing is wrong with the niche fragrances. Nothing is wrong with these high-end brands. But sometimes us in the fragrance community, especially when you see some of us with I don't have 100, but 100, 200, 300. Some of them even have 500 bottles or more. It's easy to lose perspective. Luxury fragrances are for enthusiasts. They're for aficionados. If you do a percentile out of a percentage, 1% or 0% to 100, you're really the 1% or 2% of people in the world who really care about a really high end thing. You would compare that to somebody who likes boats to if they have a yacht or they have the best yacht, or somebody who's into shoes, like buying the most high end shoes from the luxury brands. Not everybody is into that kind of stuff or does that kind of stuff. And some people want to smell great, they want the performance, but they don't want to spend that money, if that makes sense. So the brand behind it doesn't matter as much. So, for example, if, with a car company, somebody makes something that's similar, but that's a lot cheaper, but just doesn't have the big brand name on it. Does that make sense? I think I'm coming through. Since Quest says Maple Mayhem, I mean, yeah. Let me close this door. We got some Christmas music going on. Hopefully that'll help a little bit, not disturb us. Link to the live chat in my group bin. Thank you, 504 Man Fragrance. I appreciate that a lot. Maple Mayhem. Yeah, I've heard that's a good one for the money. Really good fragrance. Brian Wade says, what is the best clone? Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait and Reflection Man. Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait. Of course, if you're looking for the original, I think it's Ariana Grande Cloud. A lot of people say it's quite good for the money. I haven't smelled it, and I would imagine that it smells kind of more on the feminine side. But of course, you can wear anything you like. But the Extrait, you got to go for Zoha's oils. And I think they do have an outright spray. I'm not sure what the name of that one is off the top of my head, but they have an Extrait inspired by Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait. It smells very similar. I dare say it almost smells better. And it is a little bit more of a subtle fragrance because it's an oil, but it lasts a long time. And for the money, it's great. It's simply great. And some people don't look at the oil, and you might have seen more affordable, cheap oils. Zoha oils are more expensive than just your average oil on the street or at the mall or somebody reselling them, but they're still quite affordable, and they're really some of the best oils that I've come across. And I'm not just saying that to say that. Their Layton is great. Most of their clones that I've smelled are pretty good. Spot on. So Zoha oils, and again, they were generous enough to send those my way. So if you want to take that into consideration, but DJ says I don't mind buying originals and prefer to do it, but something about houses making a $450 fragrance that doesn't have an hour's performance, sits skin level and week longevity seems like a ripoff. Yeah, DJ. Again, that kind of goes into the art. It kind of art aspect of this. I like art. I appreciate art. I know that a lot of work and creativity goes into fragrances, and I've looked into some of it myself because, again, I want to be a self-trained perfumer. But if you put out a fragrance out there, even if it does have good ingredients, even if it's well composed, if it doesn't last, most people want a fragrance to last more than 3 or 4 hours. If the niche fragrance doesn't last 4 hours or more, most people are going to be very unhappy. For me personally, 5 or 6 hours is kind of the acceptable range. If it's a more affordable fragrance, I can sometimes accept a 4 hour fragrance. If it's affordable, if it's accessible, if it's an easy wear kind of fragrance, if it's fresh and it makes me feel happy, I can wear a 4 hour fragrance. But I understand what you're saying. If you're paying $400, $500 for a fragrance and it only lasts you, and if it only lasts you 2 hours, it's like a freshie. Some of the Tom Ford fragrances that are fresh, like the Azura Lime. I love how Azura Lime smells. I'm crazy about it. But for how much that cost and it's gone in like 2 hours, I mean, I don't think citrus is that expensive. I don't know how they get away with charging so much money for so little. Uh, you can check out stuff like Lime in the Sky by Central Obsessions. It smells, it is kind of sweet. It is a little bit more mass appealing, but it has a beautiful lime to it. And this stuff lasts and lasts and lasts. It lasts a pretty good while. You know, you're going to get 5, 6, 7 hours out of this fragrance. And it's very affordable for like $20. So Lime in the Sky for a citrus fragrance. I mean, that's why I'm talking about this today. And I was tagged by good old Georgia Gent. So let's see here. E. Jean says Play-Doh. That's an interesting way to describe a fragrance. I do put that out there when I talk about niche oud, and there are some other fragrances that do have that smell to it. Um, for me, mostly it usually comes when certain vanillas are put together with certain ambers, and it does smell like a clay or kind of like a synthetic earthy vibe to the fragrance. Again, Niche Oud by Armov is a great fragrance, and it does a really good job. If you like that Roja, again, kind of vibe with Enigma or Creation E, but it does have that vibe. It does smell that way very clearly to my nose. And again, I like to make those comparisons to help you understand the fragrance. To make a comparison, I don't know. Have you has everybody here smelled pottery clay? Do you know what I'm talking about? In the West, like when you were a kid, you probably knew what Play-Doh was, but there's definitely a different kind of smell. Mr. Cheapsense says, "What up, 504 man?" Yeah, 504 is in the house, and Mr. Cheapsense, Solano, um, and a Centurion, I think I saw. SitQuest is in the house too. Says plus new batches. It could be a different guy mixing it, and he doesn't cook it the same way as the original guy. That kind of brings up another aspect of the discussion um, with clones. I think clones, a lot of the time, they use sometimes more synthetic ingredients. We just have to be honest about that. But they are mixed very well, and sometimes they can smell quite nice, and nothing's wrong with that. Um, with big brands, even with niche, when they get really popular, like Creed Aventus, um, you know, there's all kinds of nuances that get into a fragrance. When the ingredients were harvested, how long they've been aged, what part of the world they come from, where are the ingredients sourced. So I think with Aventus, one of the things that went into Aventus changing so much as well, with the little nuances that people can pick up, is because it was such a popular fragrance. They started having to pull, ingredients that weren't exactly in the original, not in the same way. So maybe they were pulling a certain note from a certain area of the world that was harvested in the fall. It got so popular and they were running out. They needed more ingredients. So they said, hey, we'll get it from somewhere else. And it's harvested in the spring. And we'll just have to go with it because we need to, keep making this fragrance. People want this fragrance. We can't discontinue it. We can't make it a limited edition. That's why a lot of brands do limited editions sometimes, is because they can't recreate it in the same exact way. So Creed says, heck, we'll put it out there. People will like it. People will buy it. And it worked. And most people haven't said anything against Creed. Most people haven't complained. It's worked for them. So I guess they made the right move. um, DJ says, I think batch inconsistencies of Aventus are deliberate to drive hype up and certain ones to keep people buying Aventus every year. Plus, what other Creed suffers such drastic inconsistencies. It's true. Aventus, for some reason, is more inconsistent than any probably niche house that I've ever seen. And that might be, again, it might be because of the popularity, or it might be because, it's intentional. I don't know if it's intentional. I can't say. But something's funny is going over there, and they're not being very transparent about it. But again, I'm not hating on Creed. If anybody who's a Creed representative ever watches my content, I don't hate you. I think that you make some good fragrances. But I personally, for money, money per dollar, per mil, per ounce, whatever, You're not going to get much of my money. I'm just putting that out there. Um, Ray says I buy name brand stuff because I'm more of a collector as opposed to a frag head, but I do love clones as well every day to wear. Yeah, again, if you like an expensive fragrance, you can get a clone of it and probably get better performance and not have to spend so much money. And you can smell very similar. That's one reason clones are popular, because you can smell similar to it. And honestly, with things like Aventus, I don't mean to make this whole video about Aventus, guys, but it's funny when a clone gets really popular. Sometimes people refer to the clone, or kind of vice versa. So you might smell very similar. People might think you're smelling like Aventus, and that for some people, I think that's one reason why people might dislike clones so much. You might be wearing the $400, $500 fragrance. Somebody's wearing the clone, and their fragrance might project better, and they're getting compliments off a fragrance they paid 50 for, and you paid 500 for, and it kind of takes away maybe from that artisticness and that originality, and a big reason why people get into niche and like niche fragrances is because they want to smell unique and they want to smell different. That's one reason why really you get into any luxury enthusiast aficionado kind of brand of anything, is you want something that's special and high performance. If somebody can copycat that for a lot less money and most people don't know the difference, I mean, that just kind of diminishes the value perhaps of that thing, in a way. So it's all competition. Again, I mostly like clones for the aspect of helping the customer, helping the buyer. When things are a buyer's market, it helps you as an individual. Creed is going to have to look at the bottom line and say, do we lower the price? Do we try to market more? Like with any of these brands, are we going to have to, what are we going to have to do? Are we going to have more physical stores in more cities, have a bigger presence? Are we going to have to again sell our products cheaper? Are we going to have to make more money? Are we going to put less quality ingredients or sneak something in and out? They're going to have to make those kinds of decisions. But I think what really matters is the customer. With competition, sometimes that's a good thing. And for some reason, there's a lot of people who don't like competition in fragrance. I think that fragrance is a newer industry. Especially, you can see that in YouTube world, with all of us kind of being in a smaller pond and all of us kind of being more connected than a lot of industries would, like in the makeup industry or in the entertainment industry, car industry, anything out there. There's not people don't seem to be interconnected and so available to each other like we do in this kind of rising, growing industry. And that's one reason the fragrance industry is so great. You see all these brands popping up, and it's really exciting. But that's another, I think, aspect of this is people, I guess, don't like the changing times, and for the fragrance world is changing, and I think it's in a good way. Companies are going to have to, really look at their bottom line and say, are we giving good performance? Are we offering a fair value? How do we stack up towards the competition? I think a lot of these big niche brands have gotten quite kind of, as they say, kind of like a fat cat, kind of lazy in that way. They've lost their originality, and they can kind of keep selling the same fragrance over and over for years and years, and there's not enough competition to really spur them or motivate them to change it all. So that's kind of an aspect of it as well. So that's one reason I like the clones, is that it really helps us to understand value. Are we getting a good value? Are we getting a fair trade for our money? Is it really worth it? DJ says, or Creed Original, Santal copied Mont Blanc Individual, Pacaro Pure XS is Himalaya. True, true, true. Original vetiver is Mugler Cologne. Copying happens all the time. It's all true. You know it. You're exactly right. DJ says Interplay, X Straight, and Casino Royale. do 540 well. I own 540 X-Straight, and it's pretty close. I'm with you. I hear you. I need to try more. I think that's Dua. I think that is Dua. I've talked with them. I'm not sure if they want to work with me because they know I'm very honest. I haven't really reviewed any Dua fragrances so far. They've kind of, hit the pause button with working with me, but maybe they will want to work with me. I would love to try their brand, and I would love to try to put their brand out there and be honest for y'all. And, if they have confidence in their product, I'm ready to work with them. But I hope they will. We'll see what happens. But so far, Dua hasn't worked with me yet. But I'd like to work with them. Of course, with the Alexandria fragrances. Of course, I've put their name out there on their fragrances like Hawaii Volcano Intense and a number of others. I do. Alexandria's never sent me anything free either, but I like some of their fragrances. I do. Um, Joe says Alexandria fragrances are terrible, and I was impressed with Dua. Let me know why don't you like Alexandria and why do you like Dua? I'd love to know. I don't have a lot of experience with Dua fragrances. Some Alexandria fragrances, I wish that they were maybe fuller bodied, but all of them, for the most part, have had pretty good performance. Some of them could have more complexity to the fragrance, but some of them are quite good for the money. So I really like the Black Tie Affair, which is kind of their take on, I think it was Tuxedo, and I think it has a little bit of cardamom. It has a little bit of that gray feel to it. So I really like Black Tie Fair. People talk about Zion and Anubis Kiss, and there's a number. I think there's like Tuscan King. There's people who really like Alexandria too. So I need to try more. Motivated Living's in the house. Another great fragrance reviewer. Hey, my friend, how are you doing today? What's your scent of the day? How are you doing? Um, Melanex says, sorry regarding Parfums de Marley Layton. Yes, I just purchased one of the newer batches. I read a lot about 27 to 2018 ones having problems with smell and performance, but the one I just bought seems good. Okay, so maybe they improved it. Maybe they made it better. That sounds good. I honestly don't know. I need to try more of the new batches. I need to be familiar and try out all of these things. Thanks, Benjamin and DJ Ginkai. Yeah, Brian, we appreciate you. Melintic says, I do, however, have to do some more testing or to clarify how good it is. Yeah, let me know. Keep us up to date. Motivated Living says, I have seen clones perform better than the big pricey ones. It's true. If you care about performance, if you really want performance, sometimes the clone is the way to go. It's really funny how that works, but if you pay less, sometimes you're going to get better performance. Sometimes you're going to get more money's worth from the clones. Not always. Sometimes clones aren't the best, and I'm not trying to hype up clones. I'm not trying to say that clones are always the best. Some clones don't really mimic the fragrance that well, and sometimes they're composed kind of funny. Sometimes there's just something slightly off. But a lot of the time, some of them do a pretty good job. That's just what we're talking about. And I see that 19 are people in the house. Thank y'all so much for being here. This is crazy fun. I've never had 19 people in my chat before. Please give me a like if you want to help me out. I think that lets YouTube know that you like my content, and it would mean the world to me. People popping in and out. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I've never had this many people on my live chat before. Motivated Living. Yeah. Nikant says, what is the best clone of Bond Number 9 New Harlem? Thanks for all you do. I really appreciate you. The best one I heard of, I think, was essentially Maple Mayhem. I think that was the one people were talking about. I'm trying to remember who makes that one. Remind me who makes Maple Mayhem. Everybody, I have not bought that fragrance, but I think that's the best one of New Harlem that's out there with that syrupy, maple-ish kind of vibe. Georgia Gent's in the house. Hey, Georgia Gent. Thank you for opening up this topic, really inviting everybody in the fragrance community to talk about this. I have talked about clones in the past, But I do think it's a perfect time. I think the time is right that more of us start talking about clones. Talking about maybe why we like or dislike the brands, because they've started to get a little bit more momentum. They've started to get a little bit more traction. Clones are getting more accepted. They're getting more successful, and they're getting big. Again, I was really impressed by Alexandria when they made a clone of, Jeremy Fragrance's Office for Men. They made it quite fast, and it sold out like hotcakes, like really fast. So I was quite impressed by that, and I haven't got to try that one yet. I would like to, but I mean, they must be doing something right. People are buying them. People like them. So I think that's the real argument. What do people want, and what do people buy? I think that's what really matters. Um, you know, let's see here. Ray Ford says, I just bought from Genre. I've heard they're great too. I've never smelled a Genre perfumes yet, but Genre for the first time and looking forward to see how they compare. If they are good as people say, I may have I might only have to buy from them. And Happy Lands. Yeah, Happy Lands is great. I don't know if Happy Lands is exactly a clone brand. I do feel like there's an originality to their fragrances. Some of them are kind of inspired by not any particular fragrance, but by some popular accords. Like Happy Land Signature has the classic beautiful honey tobacco note, but I don't feel like that's a clone of anything. It's not exactly the most artistic fragrance, but it's a very well composed fragrance, and you're getting a great value for your money. I mean, that's one of the things why Happy Land is so good. Happy Land Rhyolite is one of the best values for money out there too. If you want a gourmand, if you want something sweet and cozy, with that again like honey and sandalwood and all these gorgeous notes, white musk. Rhyolite is a perfect cozy scent if you like gourmands, if you like sweet scents. Um, Talk and Review says, "Yo, hey my friend, how you doing?" Georgeson Gents says, "What about Babylon fragrances?" Okay, let me pull that one here. Let me pull that one out. Babylon fragrances does a pretty good job too. For me personally, I have one here. They were sent to me, but quite good fragrances overall. For me personally, they have a little bit of that aroma vibe, a little bit of that molecule vibe at times, but they do a really good job. I got Tobacco Rojo here, which is red tobacco, which I think is supposed to be a copy of Mancera's red tobacco. Um, this fragrance has a little bit of that unique spice and a little bit of that intense kind of red vibe. The opening of it reminds me of the opening of Tobacco Vanille a lot. I mentioned that in one of my videos, and a lot of people thought that was odd, but the spice off the top of this one does remind me a tiny bit of Tobacco Vanille. But anyways, Mancera's, I think it's red tobacco, is quite a bit more expensive. Both of them have great performance, but you're getting a little bit more value for your money here. Again, Babylon fragrances, they project very, very well. You're getting really good longevity and very good performance, but some of them do have a little bit more of a aroma-like vibe to them. But they do smell really nice. This fragrance smells great. If you like tobacco, if you like that kind of thing, like honey. But I'm just saying that, you know what I was saying, like with Jeremy fragrances, smelling like a molecule fragrance and not having a full body to it, Office for Men. That's kind of what I'm getting with these fragrances, but not near as much. Jeremy's fragrance, Office for Men, smells really transparent to my nose, but these do have a little bit more of a body. Anyways, I hope that helps you understand Babylon fragrances. Their fragrance called The One is a copy of Elysium by Roja, and that one has amazing performance. Elysium doesn't have great performance. Overall, it does okay. It's not terrible, but if you want really good performance and $60 compared to 300, that's one reason these clones exist. That's one reason they exist, guys. Talking Review says, I just did a video on Perfume Parlor in the UK and Rila. That's great. I've heard pretty good things about Perfume Parlor. I think that's kind of a UK thing out there in Europe, but I haven't tried those. Talking Review says really impressed with them. Yeah, their Babylon fragrances are pretty good. They have great performance, and they've seen pretty nice, kind people. So they've always done me right. Let's see here. Talking Review says Pocket Sense. Yeah, I haven't heard too much about them, honestly. Michael says Benjamin and Mr. Cheap Sense and a few others out there are being honest, and the rest of YouTube talking heads need to pay attention. Thanks, Michael. We appreciate that big compliment. I'm not trying to put down on any other fragrance reviewers. I think sometimes you don't want to offend, and I think sometimes you want to. Sometimes you want to feel like you tippy toe around because some big people, you don't want to offend them. You might not want to offend people possibly getting a collaboration. A lot of people really want positive reviews. That is really a cultural thing that has really become a movement in the last couple of years with positivity, that you only talk about positive things. And being positive is good. Having a good attitude is very good, and having a dream or an inspiration is fantastic. And I completely believe and agree with that. But if again, everybody has different feelings about all of these topics. But with positivity, if you never want to say anything negative about a fragrance, if you never want to have anything critical to say, then how it's really hard to understand what the reviewer thinks about a fragrance. It's really hard to understand the comparison, like the good and the bad. The if there's a weak spot in the fragrance, if there's something in the fragrance that might not appeal to some people, it's you're really losing a lot of information if you don't have those kinds of things. So I think we can be objective, and I think also we can be informative, and that's definitely something, Mr. Cheapsons, you do a great job at that, and I try to do my best at that too, and I think that hopefully we can be a movement and help people, in the fragrance community. Hopefully that's something that's changing, because again, I'm not trying to criticize other reviewers. A lot of them have kind of become overviewers, and making big top 10 lists all the time does a good job. That's what most people want. And I understand what people are going to follow what brings them success. What people want with the demand, just like clones. A lot of people really get mad at clones. People get really annoyed at clones. And some people get really annoyed at top 10 lists. But again, that's what the majority of people are watching. I think Daniel-san was another one who tested this theory. He made one video with a similar topic that was just a review of one fragrance. Then he made a top 10 list about essentially the same topic. I think it might have included the same fragrance. And he got it was like 7 times more views on the top 10 list. So top 10 lists work. Again, they can seem annoying. Some reviewers, they do just talk about the same fragrances over and over. The Dior Sauvage, Bleu de Chanel, Aventus over and over and over. But I think top 10 lists serve a purpose, and they're popular, and they can be done right. Anyways, that's not really a talk about clones. But yeah, it kind of got me off topic there, but I understand what you're saying. Thank you so much for that big compliment. Motivated Living says, I'm blessed, bro. Sent to the day. Trying Versace, Al Wisam, Silver Mountain Water clone on the left side, and Afnan Supremacy Silver Ventus clone on the right. Looking forward to your review, my friend. I want to hear more about those fragrances. I haven't gotten my nose on those. I don't believe I have. I've heard pretty good things about them. Michael Sewell says Central Obsessions. Yeah, if there's any clone house that you want to hear more about, I have a number of them in front of me. I have some for Brinza. I have, some of the brand new house that really just came out. Be Layered, which I think is more. I think it's a sister company to Alexandria, and I think it's aimed more towards ladies. But if you want a clone house and you want a good gift for your lady, you might want to check out Layered or Be Layered. They're a really nice brand. I have Babylon fragrances. I have Sensual Obsessions. And there's quite a few of them out there. So yeah, let me know if there's any one that you want to hear more about. Georgia Gent says perfect time, especially around gift giving time. Yeah, around the holidays, if you want a good gift, if you give a gift of a clone to the average person on the street, they're going to be very happy. They're going to get better performance. They're going to smell fantastic. They're not going to care about the brand. At least most people don't care about the brand. If it's a well-known brand, actually, it's funny. And again, because a lot of us in the fragrance community can lose perspective. The average person on the street is going to be much more impressed by Versace or a Prada fragrance, or some people, at least in my area, more rural, don't even know much about Dior or Chanel. They probably would be more impressed with something like Versace or Coach or something. Um, and if they got that fragrance that was a clone, they would be very happy with it as a gift, for the holidays. So if you want a good gift and all the person cares about is the good smell to the fragrance, I mean, they're not going to have those preconceived notions or those feelings like some of us might have. You know, a clone might be a perfect thing for a gift. Um, Joe says missing the start of the chat, but was thinking about Leighton for Xmas. Is that a good idea, or does the performance suck? Joe, Cedar Blade, it has pretty good performance. Leighton doesn't exactly disappoint, but it's not beast mode. It's a good performer. Leighton smells really good. It's a fragrance with a lot of hype around it. It's a really popular fragrance. It's a good fragrance. But if you're really looking for a niche fragrance, if you're looking for a artistic fragrance, for that kind of money, you could get much other artistic fragrances for a lot less money. You could really get kind of 2 bottles for the price of a Parfums de Marly of some of these niche houses. So it's a really nice fragrance. I think I have if you want clones, if you care about clones, I think I have it here if I can find it. Of Zoha, I have the clone of Leighton. Here it is. This is Encrypt. This is a clone of Leighton. I much prefer their oil personally. I think their oil is better. But Encrypt is nice if you want a more easygoing, everyday version of Leighton. I think Leighton is kind of heavy for the hot weather personally. For a hot day, I think Leighton is a little bit too much. I think that Encrypt can be worn all year round, is more of a signature scent, and it does a really good job for, I think you can get these for 50, 60-ish dollars, I think. So it's not a bad price for a Zoha. And again, they do a pretty good job too. Let me see here. But Leighton is not a bad gift. It's not a bad fragrance. If you have the money, Leighton will do you good. No doubt about it. But I do think it's a little bit hyped. I'm just saying it's a good fragrance. Let's see here. Montage fragrances perfume is insanely good with clones. I need to try them. I haven't tried them yet. Central Obsessions does a great job. Yeah, he's doing a great job over there, no doubt about it. Talking Review says, what's your most favorite clone of any house? Would you like to hear from anyone else in the chat too? Would like. Yeah, if you have any thoughts about clones, we got so many fragrance reviewers here in the house. Let us know, what's your favorite clone? What clones do you like? What do you think about clones? That's a really hard decision. My favorite clone might be Peach or Blue by Fragranza. I have it behind me over here. It comes in the same bottle, just has the name on the sticker is a little bit different. But Peach or Blue is a clone of Blue Azuli by, I'm trying to remember, it's an exclusive line. I'm trying to remember if it's Dior or Chanel. It's not coming to, it's called Blue Lazuli. Anyways, it comes in a crystal bottle. All their fragrances are kind of named after different crystals. And it's kind of like a berry fragrance with a vanilla and an incense. And it's very charming. It smells kind of like a cousin to Leighton, in a way. So if you, let me grab it for you if I can. Here it is. Okay, here's the name of it. If y'all don't know what it's called Petra Blue. Again, I try to put the word out for Grenza because they've worked with me and they've been pretty generous with me. And I do like this one. I love their Rivlare, but that one's an original creation. This one is inspired again by Blue Lazuli. There's a number of clones I like. I like clones that are citrus fragrances. I like ones that give me really good performances for citrus because citrus a lot of times doesn't last very long, especially if it's more natural. Lime in the Sky by Sensual Obsessions is one of those. I really like Lime in the Sky by Sensual Obsessions. Everybody knows Andy Warhol probably by Sensual Obsessions by now. If you haven't heard about this one, if you haven't smelled it, this is the best one I've tried from the brand so far. It smells full bodied. It smells like a great fragrance. It's very well done, and it brings a discontinued, very expensive fragrance back to the market for a very affordable price, and it smells great. So, Andy Warhol Sensual Obsessions is a great clone. I need to try more of them. I'm trying to remember one from Alexandra that, again, I did like Black Tie Affair. What was another one? I liked Signature. Hafez Signature was quite a good fragrance as well. My mind is going, 1,000 miles an hour trying to think of answers for y'all. Trying to help y'all. Any other clones that really stick out to me? I really want one of Azura Lime by Tom Ford. I want one, and I want one by a clone of Ombre Leather. Ombre Leather is not the most expensive fragrance out there by Tom Ford, but I quite like the scent, and I would like for somebody to improve on it, make it even better, and maybe make it last even longer, even though it's not a bad performing fragrance by any means. I don't know. That's just some of my thoughts. Again, I was very happy with B Laird's Paris Nights, bringing back Midnight in Paris. Very happy about that. They brought back Midnight in Paris. They made it more unisex, more mass appealing, perfect for dates, very wearable. If you haven't checked this one out, very happy about it. Okay, let's get to some more of the chat. Let's see how we're doing, what's going on. What about top 10 clones? Oh, I'd have to make a video about that. I can't do that off the top of my head. I want to be more involved with y'all. I appreciate that though. I'll do a video maybe for y'all. Let's see here. feel like I'm skipping some stuff. Motivated Living says, we as reviewers have a responsibility to be honest to our viewers, regardless if it's good or bad. Very true. I think a lot of reviewers, and again, I'm not attacking or antagonizing any reviewers. I think that they just kind of glaze over things, or they kind of try to tell you non-verbally, like if they don't say a lot about the fragrance, or if they just pause a little bit, or if they just kind of quickly move on to another fragrance. So they kind of tell you that they don't love the fragrance, but they don't tell you why, and they don't tell you any of the details. So they, again, don't hurt any of the company's feelings. Maybe they're collaborating with them. Maybe, again, they feel like, with the positivity kind of movement, they don't have to say anything negative. They just don't have to say anything at all. So that's definitely an aspect of this. Let's see here. What do you think of Silver Supremacy? I haven't tried it. Anybody in the comment section, if you've tried that one, let us know about it. I've been tempted to buy it, but I just haven't because I kind of got burnt out on Aventus clones. I've tried so many, I've worn so many, I've just got kind of tired of them. So I just haven't blind bought that fragrance. I just feel like my money could go towards other things. Maybe in the future, once I feel like I want to get on another Aventus kick, I'll buy that one. I do have to say, if you want Aventus, if you like Aventus cologne, I think that this is the best, not only of Aventus, but Aventus cologne. And again, this is my opinion. Try out Napoleon Cologne by Zoha. Napoleon Cologne is their take on Aventus cologne, and I think they do a very good job. I think it has good longevity. It's very well balanced. You all know that the Aventus cologne, I don't think that it transitions very well. That's a whole other discussion for another day. Aventus cologne for me was a big fail, and I made a video about it. And again, as some people say, I'm just an influencer. I am burning bridges with Creed pretty much because I put them on blast. I have. Creed is probably never going to send me anything, and Zoha Napoleon Cologne, and I'm even recommending a clone over their fragrance. I think that Napoleon Cologne is definitely worth the money, and it does a really good job. I actually like this smell, and I am burnt out on Aventus. I am burnt out a bit on that, but this one I feel is pretty wearable, and it's something that sometimes I reach for because it's a little bit fresher, it's a little bit more easygoing, it's a little bit more unique almost, even though it's simple as far as the fragrance goes. I like the birch in it. I really like the birch, and it has musk. Let me see the notes here. It has a little bit of vetiver and a little bit of patchouli, and of course the pineapple. It takes that Aventus cologne DNA, makes it more well-rounded, adds the notes, increases the longevity, and actually puts pineapple in the fragrance. People, I don't know who the creative directors are with Creed. At Creed, who is your creative director? Who decided to make Aventus cologne without the pineapple? Who did that? Really? It's crazy. And this one actually puts the pineapple in Aventus Cologne, the Napoleon Cologne by Zoha. I hope that somebody here's, who is owns any of these clone companies is seeing the work I'm doing for them. Maybe they'll like me a little bit more. They'll probably send me stuff and they don't think I rep them enough. Covering by Killian Cologne tonight. Looking forward towards it, Georgia Gent. You're doing a good job over there. Motivated Living says, I like Off Non so far, more mellow than Club de Nuit Intense Man. Yeah, that Club de Nuit Intense Man, yeah, everybody's talked about it to death, but it does have more of a harsh opening. Some people say there are batch variations even with that one. So batches galore, batch discussions, maybe with every fragrance. I hope that it doesn't come to that. It's a little bit too much to learn about and keep track of. Anyways, Club de Nuit has a rough opening, but it dries down to a good, really smoky Aventus. Everybody knows about it. That's the one that's really talked about a lot because a lot of people really did like the smoky batches of Aventus. And Club de Nuit Man is probably the best way to go if you do like the smoke, but it's not exactly very mass appealing. People have done street scents approaches. They've gone on the streets and they've asked ladies. And if you're just looking for a mass appealing fragrance, if that's what you're really into, Club de Nuit Intense Man is quite a bit smoky. So smoke usually isn't the best thing with ladies. Maybe some ladies out there like the smoke, but not a lot of them do. Raymond says, I agree and have seen this. I bought many because of that. Yeah. Do you think that these clones will make the big houses more honest, stop the watering down formulations? I think that clones really have started to gain traction. I think clones are starting to have a big effect, and I think some of the bigger houses are beginning to notice, the competition. And I think it's only going to help the consumer in the long run if we, keep everybody honest. And we sometimes have to keep the clone houses honest too. Even though they're giving you a more affordable product and a cheaper product, and maybe they're giving better longevity, we still have to, as a consumer, be very aware: are we getting a good value for their, the money? I don't want to put them on blast, but Pineapple Vintage with their brand, that's one of the ones. It's a clone house, and you could start asking as a clone brand or as a clone house with Pineapple Vintage, that brand with all, and they're doing really well for themselves. They're having good success, but start asking the big questions of, am I actually saving money? Am I getting a good value for my money? And that's one of the things with the honesty. We got to keep everybody honest. Honesty is a big part of this. Cali Review says, "Have you tried exotic velvet leather cologne?" I don't think I have. I've talked with a couple brands, and I've been trying to get a clone of exotic velvet leather. I think that's the high end exclusive line of, I think it was Dolce and Gabbana. Um, Maybe that's, I'm thinking of a different one, exotic desert oud or something like that, or velvet. Anyways, it's a really nice fragrance. I have tried the real thing, and it's very expensive. I think it's a, isn't it a $300, $350 fragrance originally, and it's hard to find too. So that's another reason. For another reason for clones, they're accessible. Sometimes you have to go to a special boutique or work with a distributor. Some of these fragrances aren't easy to find. Um, Anyways, Centurion says perfume parlors inflexibility. Handsome is a great clone of Penhaligon's Uncompromising. Zohan's 75% accurate. That's fantastic. I need to try both of those. I know that you're a Penhaligon's man, and that's fantastic. You do a lot of good work. I don't think a lot of people really know a lot about Penhaligon's. I try to get the word out on some brands like Floris, and I know you like Floris too. Floris is a great brand. Floris does great work. And for some reason, brands like Creed have really gotten all the notoriety. They've gotten all the popularity. Brands like Parfums de Marly has gotten all the popularity. Maison Francis Kurkdjian to a degree. For some reason, those niche brands have gotten a lot of the popularity, and there's a lot of other great niche brands out there. Ormond Jane, oh my goodness, Ormond Jane has amazing fragrances and they do great work. Carnar Barcelona's gotten a little bit of spotlight, but Carnar Barcelona in the fragrance game on YouTube, really it doesn't get a lot of spotlight for how good their fragrances are, and they're pretty easygoing fragrances for the most part too. So Carnar Barcelona is great. There's just a number of other brands. Serge Lutens came out with a newer high-end line, and almost nobody has talked about any of those Serge Lutens fragrances. And I like Serge Lutens. Some of their older fragrances aren't for me. Some of their more vintage inspired fragrances aren't for me personally. But Serge Lutens has great fragrances. If you want to look into a house and dive into a fragrance house, they do a great job. There are a few reviewers who are starting to talk more and more about Guerlain, and Guerlain has an extensive portfolio of a lot of great fragrances. And for some reason, a lot of people haven't talked about Guerlain in the past. I think that a lot of their higher end line like that is expensive. I think that a lot of people maybe just don't have access to the high end Guerlains. I know that I don't, and I want to smell a lot of them, but I don't know. I'm just putting that out there. Let's see. The new So I'm reviewing tonight might say better than Andy Warhol. Let me know. That'd be crazy. I'd love to know if you got something even better on your hands. Motivated Living says Club de Nuit Intense honestly has gotten me way more compliments than Aventus. Yeah, crazy how that works, isn't it? And Aventus, honestly, a lot of people talk about it as a compliment beast. If I'm going to put this out there again, and I've said this before, and I don't think it's controversial. To some people, it might be controversial. If you're looking for compliments, if you're looking for a positive attention, you go to designer. For the most part, there are some compliment fragrances in niche. There's things like Pacific Rock Moss. Aventus does a pretty good job, and there's a few others. But if you're really looking for compliments, if that's your thing, if that's what you really are going for, and you just want to be attractive, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, designer fragrances are the way to go. They do tons of research, they put tons of money into it, and they figure out what people like. Things like Dior Sauvage. I'm just putting this out there because there's been this movement for some reason with some of these niche fragrances, and people like to talk about them as really compliment getting, but that's not really the purpose of niche. Niche fragrances can be really mass appealing, and some of them are really more mass appealing. Like Baccarat Rouge 540. As a niche fragrance, Baccarat Rouge 540 is more mass appealing compared to a lot of them. but is it a great mass appealing fragrance? No, not really. Even though it's a great fragrance and a lot of people like it, it doesn't work for me personally. But if you're just looking for compliments, Baccarat Rouge 540 and Aventus and Leighton, even though Leighton is a great fragrance, I'm not putting down on it. Those are, if you're just wanting compliments, if that's something you really care about, I'm just putting it out there that designer is the way to go. But if you're more into more artistic, you go for indie, and I'm starting to get into indie. I'm starting to get into indie a lot, and I talk about those. Anyways, sorry if I got into another rant. Um, let's see here. Let me look at the discussions. Carly Warley's in the house. Hey, lovely. Just a fleeting visit. Mad Monday morning here. Oh, it's Monday where you live. Oh yeah, you're quite a ways away. Say hey, looking favorite fragrance guy. Look forward to watching you later. Yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, Carly. Carly, it's always great to see you. Always love seeing you stop by. Georgia Gent says intense man. I'm not sure what what you're connecting. I guess I am an intense guy. Scent Quest says I like that Aventus cologne actually. It's basic but nice. Yeah, Napoleon cologne is a little bit more basic of a Aventus style fragrance, but if you're looking for longevity, it's not beast mode, but it does have pretty good longevity. And if you want a more natural smell, it's better blended and a great Aventus smell. Napoleon cologne is probably the best one that I've liked so far. If I'm gonna reach for anything Aventus these days, I'm gonna reach for Napoleon cologne. That's just me though. That's just me. Um, Michael Sewell says dot dot dot. Did I miss a comment of yours? If I did, I'm so sorry, my friend. Please let me know if I did. Cali Review says, yeah, it's the D&G. Yeah, it's a really nice fragrance. I really like it too. It has a really nice, spicy, leathery vibe. A really good fragrance, but it's very expensive and it's hard to get your hands on. That Velvet Desert, Velvet Desert fragrance by Dolce Gabbana. Says, I have heard of Penhaligon's are more of the classic type scent. Motivated Living asks, yes, I do think they are more of a classic brand, a classically inspired fragrance brand, but they are very well done. I've heard that Halfeti is really good. If you like cardamom fragrances or kind of smooth, almost rosy fragrances, Endymion, especially the Endymion, I think it's a concentrate. It has like a dark purple liquid. If you're looking for a date fragrance, a real charmer, it is kind of expensive for what it is, but that's a great fragrance, no doubt about it. Endymion concentrate by Penhaligon's. Great fragrance there, no doubt about it. Tom Elise is in the house. Hi, Benjamin. Hi, people. Yeah, Tom Elise is a great reviewer too. She talks about indie. She talks about indie niche. If you want artistic, creative fragrances, she's a great. She's full of energy. She's a fragrance enthusiast. Tom Elise is a great one in the community, and I don't think a lot of people mention her or talk about her too much. But Tom Elise is doing a lot of great work in the niche game with niche fragrances. So thank you so much for stopping by, Tom Elise. I love your content. I try to watch almost everything I can. Cali Review says, hey, Tom Elise. Yeah, thank you so much for stopping by. Georgia Gent says, I could see Motivated Living. I give it some wear next time to revisit. Yeah, for sure. Georgia Gent, yep. Hey, Tom Elise. Cali Review says, mass appealing compliment getting niche. Is that what you want? If that is what you want, just by designer. That's exactly what I was saying, Cali Reviews. Again, I was just commenting that I thought it was kind of funny that there was kind of this movement with some of these niche fragrances and them saying are really trying to highlight compliment factor. Again, if you want compliments, go for designer fragrances every time. Buy yourself Prada Luna Rosa Carbon. Buy yourself Sauvage. Buy yourself great fragrances like that. Buy La Vie Est Belle, Guerlain Insolence, EDP. Those are great compliment getters. Again, the last two I just mentioned were from ladies, if you don't know. Those ones are more for ladies. Let's see here. Tom Lee says, honestly, I don't care about the compliments. I find it funny men care about them so much. Well, Tom Elise, you're a lady. A lot of guys do really want the compliments. It helps, your image, your prestige. I'm not this way personally as much. Of course, we're all human, but a lot of guys really like to know that they're attractive, and they're putting their best foot forward because you know how culture is. A lot of the men have to do the approaching. They have to put their best foot forward, and knowing that they look sharp, they smell great, that they're attractive, really matters to a lot of guys. And that's one reason the fragrance industry is so big. If you look at the commercials on TV, fragrance perfume commercials, it's always a guy out there, trying to be attractive and suave, and and then there's the model ladies out there they put on the screen in their funny little commercials. So that's a big part of the compliments, and I do think the compliment kind of culture is a little bit overdone. I don't really like it that much, but the average person really cares about being attractive, and care about compliments on the streets. So, us fragrance enthusiasts, we care more about the art and the smell of the fragrance. Y'all already all know this, but it is kind of a funny thing. It is. Let me see here. Tomali says that's why I love niche and even more indie because I don't look for compliments but creativity and the artistic approach. Yeah, I love that too, Tomalise. And of course, you can smell good wearing artistic fragrances. You know, not most fragrances aren't off-putting that are niche. There are some that are very very creative or very daring, especially once you get into the deep side, or maybe some people would say the dark side of the oud. Deep dark oud, especially for the Western market, is that if you're it's not going to be mass appealing at all. But yeah, I know what you're saying, and you do great work, Tom. Elise, we love your work. Motivated Living says, agree on the compliment factor. They're always nice, but not why I wear frags. As I say in my videos, they are therapeutic for me, and I wear them, and how they make me feel. That's the most important thing for sure. And when I talk about the compliment factor in my videos, I never want y'all to feel like, that's a big aspect or that's very important to me. I just want to give y'all a taste or mention what other people are going to think about the fragrance. Having that perspective, and how much is this a likable fragrance? Kind of on a scale, really likable, not really likable. I think is an important thing to know about the fragrance, and also I try to talk about that with the longevity sometimes too. When you first spray it, with the opening, that if it's different, what do people think about that one? And what do people think about the dry down? Do they like it a little bit more, a little bit less? So, anyways, I agree with you. I feel that way about compliments as well. But I think that people in general do want to hear a little bit about that. So that's just why I mentioned it. It's not the biggest thing. That's not. I don't care the most about that myself either. But if you're trying to be attractive to the ladies as a guy out there, and if you're watching my content, some guys out there really want to know what's the compliment factor. So I try to put that out there for everybody. Tomali says, Ray Ford, absolutely. Tomali says, thanks. Yeah, we appreciate you, Tomali. I know you do a lot of work. I know that you probably felt like a lone wanderer, a lone rebel out there doing your work and on your grind. The fragrance community is becoming a little bit more inclusive, but for a lot of the part, for some reason, some people, you have to get adopted. I don't know how it works. You get initiated into the club, and then you become friends with everybody somehow at once. And I haven't been initiated. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if I want to be, but we support you, Tom Elise, and you do good work. I don't know. Maybe you'll get accepted, and get the stamp of approval from the, I don't know, YouTube gods or whatever's going on up there. um, Cali Review says, I agree. I don't buy fragrances for compliments. I just care and like the smell. I have my awesome dress shirts for compliments. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're just compliments, you could probably do a lot more for yourself outside of fragrances are nice. Fragrances are definitely a part of the game, but you wearing like a new hat or having, actually ironing your clothes, what a thought. Having really nice breath, those kinds of things might do a better job for you. If a guy is going out on a date and those kinds of things. I mean, a fragrance is great, but your lady isn't going to care as much about if your fragrance costed $80 or if your fragrance costed $300. She's not going to care as much. And again, that $80 fragrance might actually smell better to her. Um, let's see here. Ray says, if you have a man giving me compliments, I'm throwing the bottle away. Because it's unwanted attention. I actually prefer not to be complimented at all. I wear fragrances for me. That's crazy. Yeah, Aventus, the smoky batches, will get you compliments from men. It's really funny. Men really like the smell of that one. Don't throw away ombre leather. I'm crazy about ombre leather, and the few times I've smelled that on a guy, I think one time I actually complimented a guy on ombre leather by Tom Ford. Um, I don't know why, but it does smell great, and funny how that works. You know, some fragrances or some smells are more attractive to guys, or just smell better to guys, vice versa. Motivate Living says, Ray 4, don't throw them away. Send them my way to review. Hey, I feel the same way, man. Especially if you have something like ombre leather. It's like, I'll take it. Like Tom Ford Pour Homme Extreme. That is a great fragrance, and I have it up there in my closet. And I think that definitely would be more appreciated by the guys out there. Tom Ford Pour Homme Extreme. Let's see here. Okay, I don't see any more comments. Let me know. Is there anything else you want to hear about? Again, sensual obsessions. Some of them have been hits or misses for me personally, but a lot of them are quite good. I like Aventus Smoky. It's kind of a simple smoky Aventus, but it is quite nice. Andy Warhol is great. Let me see here. Lime in the Sky is a winner. Lime in the Sky is great for a bright citrusy lime fragrance. Really good citrus. Lime in the Sky is great. I'm just doing super quick overviews of these, wrapping this video up. Napoleon Cologne is the best Aventus cologne for me personally as of now, 2019. Napoleon Cologne, I think, is the best kind of Aventus, fresh, easygoing Aventus fragrance on the market personally. Of course, that's my opinion. That's all me. Let's see here. Iris Imperial is a take on, what was it? Dior Homme Intense. This one's really nice. I do think it's a little bit more purple in tone. I do feel like it's a little bit more feminine of a fragrance, but Iris Imperial is a really nice one as well. If you like iris, if you're not scared of the iris, if you want a lot of it, you got it in Iris Imperial. Emirati Oud. These are all by Zoha. Is a really nice wearable oud, kind of more of that spicy, fresh resin, like fresh amber vibe going on. Emirati Oud is quite a nice fragrance. More for the classic, probably gentleman kind of style of fragrances. I saw some comments there. Let me catch up. Ben, I can send you Tobacco Oud and Tom Ford Oud 1 Intense. I've smelled the Oud 1 Intense. If you just want to get rid of it, though, I would love to have it. But I do like Oud 1 Intense. The Tom Ford Tobacco Oud, I don't know if I've tried that one. It sounds intense. From what people say, it's not the most kind of complimented style fragrance, but I'd love to try. And Crypt is a really nice everyday wearable Layton. Very kind of sweet, kind of plum-like fragrance. Very easy, kind of easy wear. Does have a tiny bit of a dark vibe, but it's a nice fragrance. Um, Oud Tabak is really nice. I think that this is a clone of a Xerjoff, a certain Xerjoff, but to my nose, this almost smells like a better, well done version of Ombre Nuit by Dior. And I know some people really like that Dior. Some people are crazy about it, but I think that this one's much better. And of course, I have a full size bottle of Leather Oud by Floris, which I much prefer. But as far as saving you money, instead of that Ombre Nuit by Dior, I would really suggest something like this Oud Tabak by Zoha. Um, Quite a good fragrance. Let's see here. Got some comments. Tommy says red tobacco is okay. I'm hoping someone will hate red tobacco and want to be generous. I think there's a lot of demand for red tobacco. A lot of people seem to really like it. I don't know if you're going to get a bottle that somebody just wants to get rid of. If they do, they're not going to get. It's probably not going to be on a huge discount. Um, if you really like that smell, you might want to give Babylon Fragrances a try. Reach out to them. You're a fragrance reviewer. They might be generous with you. They might give you a discount. I don't know what they might do to help you out. But Tobacco Rojo by Babylon Fragrances is quite a good, kind of clone or option if you really do like that red tobacco. Um, yeah, Tom Elise, you got interested in Zoha? Do a top five of the house. I'll work on it, Joe. I'll do my best. Tom Elise says love Iris, one of my favorite notes. Yeah, Tom Elise, have you done a top 10 list of that? I know you do some really nice top 10 lists, and I try to keep up with everything, but I'd love to know if you know of any good, more Irish fragrances for men. I know it's a hard note for some of us guys to appreciate, but some of us guys really do like it. Let me talk about a few more clone fragrances, and we'll wrap this up real quick. So again, real quick, if you Paris Nights by Be Layered, they brought back, they resurrected, Midnight in Paris by Van Cleef and Arpels. Great fragrance, very happy about it. Wild Palnero, I don't remember I think this is an original, but this is by Fragranza. They have originals and they have clones. This is a really nice, almost soapy potpourri like plum fragrance. Um, Smells classy. It's refined, but it has a little bit of that dark plum vibe. It might remind you of wine. Wild Palnero has really good performance too. A lot of people rant and rave about this fragrance, and this is going to be one of my gifts for my mom. I think for maybe Christmas, maybe I'll save it for her. Wild Palnero is quite a nice fragrance if you want a gift for a lady. I feel like it's a tiny bit more mature. It's a tiny bit on the mature side, but really nice. Motivated Living says I am liking the House of Mansara a lot, and just waiting to add it to my collection. Waiting for it to get back in stock at my discounters. Yeah, Mansara has some great fragrances, no doubt about it. I need to try more of them. Centurion says, "Great chat, everybody, and many thanks to Benjamin." Toodle. Yeah, my friend, I really do appreciate you. Again, check out all these houses. Let me know what you think about them. There's a lot of new clone houses popping up here and there. Again, with Alexandria, I like Black Tie Affair. I need to get my nose on Anubis Kiss. And I think that Signature is a good fragrance. I really do appreciate all of y'all who are in the house, even you people who are lurkers. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you're from, but I appreciate you watching. I hope that you feel comfortable commenting because I love your your comments, and I love hearing from you. I really appreciate everybody in the fragrance community, and I hope that I never feel like I'm taking shots because I appreciate and I respect everybody. Thank y'all so much for being here today. Motivated Living says Hindu Kush is my favorite. Then Kumquat Wood and Cedrat Boise. Yeah, tell the world more about those fragrances. I've tried to tell people a little bit about Kumquat Wood. Not a lot of people know about that one. It's a really nice, very interesting fruity nuance and wood fragrance. It's very interesting and very classy. Quite a sweet fragrance, but it's done very well. Has great performance. And the other one, Hindu Kush, I've never tried it. Mukbang Sally says bye. Bye, Sally. Cali Review says I'm considering Hindu Kush and Black Afghano maybe sometime next year. Yeah, Black Afghano is a great fragrance if you like smoky fragrances and cannabis, but it's very intense. It's an intense fragrance, but it has a lot of character and it's really nice. If you're getting into niche, if you're ready to dive a little bit deeper, that one's a great fragrance. Motivated Living says, thanks for having us this Sunday, Benjamin. So happy I could make it to this one. Yeah, I'm going to try to do more lives more often, maybe once a week. Maybe I'll do them on Sundays. Maybe I'll do them on Saturdays. I'm going to try to do more of them. I feel like I really want to be interconnected with y'all. I've had a lot of really loyal subscribers in the past, and over time, maybe they got, they got all the fragrances they wanted. Maybe they needed to take a break from fragrances. Maybe they got not interested in my content anymore. But, I want to stay involved. I want to stay connected. And I want to build that friendship with all of y'all. So, we can talk about fragrances for a long time. I don't want to lose anybody. I really don't. Says Motivated Living says Hindu Kush moves me. Cannot really explain one of my happy fragrances. Yeah, wear what moves you, wear what you love, rock what you got, and be happy. That's one reason I just say wear what you love all the time. If it makes you feel good, if it makes you happy, that's what really matters. With a fragrance, this is really about you as a person being happy, being fulfilled, and having a good experience. And you're on a fragrance journey, and I'm on a fragrance journey. And I'm thankful that we can all be on this fragrance journey together. So thank each and every single one of y'all. Let's see, Tom Lee says, Fragranza sent me their perfume. The ones I tried were very good. Another witness, Tom Elise, if you haven't done a review, please do a review. I like Zoha as well. Most of their fragrances are pretty good. And they were generous enough to send me some oils too. I think their oils are fantastic. Yeah, Tom Elise, put the word out there if you want to. Benjamin said, Motivated Living says, Benjamin, you do a great job and are an amazing person. It is honored to know you and call you as a friend, bro. Keep being 100% or 100 for sure. I will. I'm never going to give up. Cali Review says, great stream, brother. Thank you, my friend. I'll see y'all next time. I appreciate every single one of y'all from the bottom of my heart. If you're watching this on the record, on the flip side, y'all know what to do. Please give me the like, the comment, the subscribe, the hit the bell. Again, being popular or all that isn't the biggest thing in the world, but I do want to grow and I do want to have success, so I do have to mention it. But I'm not going to tell you have to. It's just an invitation. That's the way it is. But Motivated Living says, everyone have a great day. Be blessed. Yep. I'll see y'all next time on the flip side. I think somebody else says that. I just like to mention corny things like that. I'll see y'all Monday. Have a good one. See you, Michael. Have a good one. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Have fun. Enjoy time with your friends and family. Eat something good. Cook up something nice. And I'll see you next time, my friends. Bye.